It was now 5 minutes past 7 o'clock. Tattoo and Monsieur Rollard were sitting in a deserted cafe near the gate of Saint-Denis, while the coachman across the road held fast to the horses, frightened more of losing them than of losing the carriage. Horses in a city at war, he knew well, were more valuable than gold. Monsieur Rollard chewed nervously at his fingers, as he had not done since childhood, wondering what on earth could have happened to Didier and Jan. Tattoo seemed unperturbed. He had his eyes shut and his feet up on a chair in front of him.
"They'll be here any minute,"
said Tattoo reassuringly. He stood up and went to pay at the bar. They walked over to the coachman, who was as jittery as a carpet full of fleas.
"Better get ready,"
said Tattoo.
"They'll be here shortly."
"Where? But where?" said Monsieur Rollard, waving his arms wildly. "There is no sign of them." Without even turning around, Tattoo said,
"Look again."
Monsieur Rollard was a man who had spent his whole life working in the theatre. A man who, after recent events, most sincerely believed that nothing could ever surprise him again, but who was completely taken aback by the sight of Jan, Sido, and Didier suddenly appearing in the road before him like a mirage. So much so that he was stripped of the tools of his trade. Words simply failed him. "I'm sorry we're late," said Jan. "We had a hell of a time getting here."
"I can imagine,"
said Tattoo, bowing graciously.
"My dear young lady, we meet again, and it is with great pleasure."
"It is so good to see you too, sir," said Sido. The driver, relieved at last to have his passengers, climbed down and opened the carriage door.
"Your documents are all in order,"
said Tattoo.
"You're going as brother and sister, Sarah and Robert Laxton. You're meeting Charles Cordell in Dieppe at the Hôtel de Paris. He's chartered a boat."
Monsieur Rollard interrupted him, anxious to speak to Sido.
Since your papers state that you are both English, it might be best to let Jan do all the talking. Now, the reason for your stay is that you have been at school here, learning French, and due to the political unrest, your brother has come to take you home."
While Monsieur Rollard talked away, Tattoo took Jan aside and spoke to him in Romany.
"You've done well, I knew you would. What of Kaliowski?"
The last I saw of him, he'd been overpowered by the crowd, and they were in a murderous mood, said Jan. "I don't see how he can have survived." Tattoo looked relieved. Now Jan would never need to know who his father was.
"Jan, I'm proud of you. Now hurry. Get Sido to Dieppe and come back as soon as you can. There's so much still to do. You promise?"
"I promise." Earlier that morning, happy was not a word Sido imagined she would ever use again. But despite all that had happened, happy was what she felt, unbelievably so, as the carriage made its way through the Saint-Denis gate, and Paris disappeared from sight. The coach stopped at the inn at Pontoise, a low timbered building that bustled with people and coaches, all relieved to be away from the city, and all hoping to reach the coast. Inside, the rooms were packed with customers elated that they were, so they believed, as good as free. Some spoke loudly and carelessly, their voices betraying their aristocratic roots. Jan instinctively disliked the place. The innkeeper, a hard-looking man, appeared to be encouraging these unwise fools. At the next table sat a group of men who had drunk more wine than was good for them, all talking loudly. Every time their glasses were empty, the innkeeper kindly refilled them. Where was their driver, Jan wondered. He had a strong feeling that the man had taken their money and scarpered. Jan whispered urgently to Sido, "Don't speak. We're leaving. Just follow me." It was too late. The door was thrown open, and 3 soldiers in National Guard uniform entered. Jan watched, certain that the innkeeper was well acquainted with these men. The customers all shifted in their seats like a shoal of fish that knows sharks are near. The man in charge, an officer of sorts, had a gobbet of snot hanging from his nose, which he wiped on his sleeve. He looked around the room, inspecting the customers.
I see before me men who should be doing their duty for France and the motherland instead of sneaking off to England like the aristocratic rats they are. Your papers, vermin!